It's very simple. I mean, I'm struggling as to why you, Betty, a logician, have come around talking to just a simple group of people about simple things, about straight lines.
For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's good. People have left us alone for quite a while in a group of people, and you've brought this, our passion, our logic, and the geometry, and we do it in reality. You've brought it into the heart of a group of people that I don't think really want it.
You call it the Triangle Axiom.
I do, yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Right, so you've managed to confuse a lot of people within that argument. Weird times, buddy. Because like you weren't trying to say that all horizontals are not parallel because you can draw a cross on a piece of paper.
I was temporarily agreeing.
That wasn't the argument.
For fuck's sake.
Because some people have took it as though that is.
I'm sorry. A separate discussion. Happy to talk about that one day. What I originally suggested, and Mike knows this, Mike Jones. We agreed we'd sort of discuss the Fifth Postulate first. And you call it the triangle at the time.
I do, yeah.
I discussed the swimming pool. Thank you, Mike. Question.
Weird times, buddy.
You don't understand.
Be quiet. Swimming pool. Thank you, Mike. Question.
You don't understand.
For fuck's sake, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Thank you, Mike.
You're just on your own.
Well, that I hold to be a self-evident. You call it the Triangle Axiom.
I do, yeah, because it's got just about a triangle, yeah.
The question is, why did you include that axiom? You call it the Triangle Axiom. That postulate.
I do, yeah.
Why did you include that at all? You call it the Triangle Axiom.
I do, because it sort of shows that triangles have 180 degrees, right? Or the sum of two right angles.
You know? So you're saying
to 180.
How does it show? Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can prove that, but why did he include that? You call it the Triangle Axiom. If you can...
Oh, you can prove it?
Be quiet. If you can prove that triangles have... You call it the triangle. The sum of the angles is two right angles. Why would you need... For fuck's sake. Sorry, that's my question. You call it the Triangle Axiom.
You don't understand.
You call it the Triangle Axiom.
You don't understand.
I was temporarily agreeing. Be quiet.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
You know?
You're just on your own.
For fuck's sake. I'm sorry. Horizontal lines can easily not be... Just as I suggested, you just sort of get a horizontal line. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. You put two crossing lines on them, and by definition, any two lines, straight lines on a horizontal plane, are themselves horizontal. You know? Though, that's the problem. You can't. Well, it's not really a problem. Yeah,
it's not a problem because there's only three straight lines. How fucking difficult can it be?
The point again is that you cannot prove it. A lot of people, you call it the Triangle Axiom. Millennia thought you could prove the Fifth Postulate. You call it the Triangle Axiom. The question is, do we need the enclosure axiom? Yeah, not on the globe hypothesis. I received opinions we don't need it because postulate 1 do the job for you. And look, Bev, I simply wanted to ask you why you think the postulate's there, and you have explained that. And you have explained that. Not on the globe hypothesis. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. I'm sorry.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Be quiet.
You're just on your own.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm sure there are better people back at the other place, the blue place, who can prove this. And we're happy to talk to you.
No logic, no wisdom, no worries.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
You know.
Logic, no answers to questions.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
You know? That I hold to be a self-evident
It's a self-evident truth of reality that all triangles, in reality, have 180 or the sum of two right angles.
Be quiet. But not on the globe. Well, it's an assumption. For fuck's sake.
It's not an assumption, is it?
Sorry. For Euclid, it was an assumption because he knew he couldn't prove it. There was a huge debate which went on for centuries. You call it the Triangle Axiom.
What, that you couldn't
Millennia.
prove that triangles have 180
They tried.
degrees?
They thought there was a question: is the fifth postulate? You call it the Triangle Axiom. Triangle Axiom, is it self-evident or not? A huge debate.
Weird times, Betty.
Thank you, Mike.
Weird times, Betty. You've brought an argument into a group of people that aren't ready for it.
Be quiet. You cannot. Euclidean geometry. You call it the Triangle Axiom. It does not follow. It doesn't work. But not on the globe. I don't need it as an assumption because we can prove it. You can prove it from the first postulate. For fuck's sake. Horizontal lines can easily not be. You can just, as I suggested, you just sort of get a horizontal plane, right? Thank you, Mike. You put two crossing lines on them, and by definition, any two lines, straight lines on a horizontal plane, are themselves horizontal. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
You don't understand.
That I hold to be a self-evident truth. For fuck's
You
sake.
don't understand.
If you could prove it, it wouldn't be a postulate,
It's
would it?
not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
You call it the Triangle Axiom.
I do, yeah, because he's got
Yeah.
just about a triangle,
So,
yeah.
the question is, why did Euclid include that axiom? You call it the triangle. That postulate or axiom. Why did you include that at all? Thank you, Mike.
Because it sort of shows that triangles have 180 degrees, right? Or the sum of two right angles.
But not on the globe. So
Eighty
you're
to
saying,
change to
for fuck's sake, how does it show?
sorry,
How does it show? Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can prove that, but why did he include that? Be quiet. If you can.
Oh, you can prove it.
You call it the triangle axiom. If you can prove that triangles have the sum of the angles is two right angles, why would you need postulate? That's my question. I will not verbally disagree with it. What goes on in my own head is my own business. I do not believe that. Be quiet.
You don't understand.
You call it the triangle axiom. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just
quiet.
on your own.
Yourself, not somebody be quiet.
You have a horizontal plane, and any straight line drawn
not
on
on the
it
globe.
must itself be horizontal. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. Yeah, not on the globe hypothesis. I was temporarily agreeing.
Right, so you've managed to confuse a lot of people within that argument.
I was temporarily agreeing.
Because, like, you weren't trying to say that all horizontals are not parallel because you can draw
Not on the
a cross
globe.
on a piece of paper, are you?
Thank you, Mike.
That wasn't the argument.
Not on the globe.
Because some people have took it as though that is.
For fuck's sake. Separate discussion. Happy to talk about that one day.
Yourself, not somebody be quiet.
Point again is that you cannot prove it. A lot of people, you call it the triangle axiom. Centuries, millennia, thought you could prove the fifth postulate. You call it the triangle axiom from the preceding thought. Be quiet. I was temporarily agreeing. Not on the globe.
Don't understand.
You call it the triangle axiom. Not on the globe.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Be quiet.
You're just on your own.
That I hold to be a self-evident truth. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
No reason, no logic, no
Be quiet.
wisdom, no worries.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
Not on the globe, Mike.
No reason, no logic, no
quiet.
answers to a question.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
Betty, do you believe the water surface is a horizontal plane of reference?
Be quiet. It's a horizontal plane, possibly. Not on the globe. Let's assume
Thank you.
the surface of either swimming pool is a horizontal establishes a horizontal plane of reference, right? Let's assume
Thank you.
the surface of either swimming pool establishes a horizontal plane of reference, right? It's not really a problem. Yeah,
It's
all they
not a
say
problem
is-
because there's only 3 straight lines. How fucking
what they're
difficult can it
saying is-
be?
quiet.
George talking about pissing in the bed. Oh, get the truth bot out of here. That's what Betty is. He won't be able to understand that, will he? I'll just disconnect the truth bot.
It's gone.
Hi, Bev. You here?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm good. Just been in the garden,
All right, nice.
chopping up wood.
Yeah, the missus is got me running about all over the place.
Yeah, don't tell me about it. Yeah.
So, to what do we owe this honour if you're coming round here for?
Well, I did sort of announce it, didn't I? If you remember.
Oh yeah, talking about I don't know. You never really stuck on a topic. I mean, I was hoping that we might be able to touch on the horizontal planes being parallel.
Yeah, we can do that. What I originally suggested, and Mike knows this. Mike Jones, is he here? Yeah. We agreed we'd sort of discuss the fifth postulate first, and if there's time, I discuss the swimming pool question.
Swimming
pool question.
Yeah. What about the horizontal planes? The ones that the logic that you think you've already debunked.
I think that's a separate discussion.
But that's
what
one
I want
that
to iron
we should
out-
start off with first, though. Really, shouldn't it?
Well, I don't want to start. Sorry,
Well,
but
the one that
that's
you've already
separate.
done.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
you
we can
do
discuss
realise that there's people out there, right, that constantly keep asking us about drawing a cross on a piece of paper. Right, so you've managed to confuse a lot of people within that argument. Because like you weren't trying to say that all horizontals are not parallel because you can draw a cross on a piece of paper, are you? That wasn't the argument. Because some people have took it as though that is.
Separate discussion. Happy to talk about that one day.
Oh, right. What about,
Next week,
because
if
you're
you
the
like.
one that started and brought that argument up, though, aren't you?
Well, there's a few arguments. What I was going to... I had questions for Mike Jones, who appears to be here.
Yeah. Well, he might be busy.
Oh, he's busy.
Mm-hmm.
He invited me. He was very, very keen. He always sends me sort of 500 messages on YouTube saying, come on in, little buddy. You know, let's discuss the fifth postulate. So I wanted to discuss that.
I'd say
That was the agenda.
he might be busy. Yeah.
That was
Oh,
the
so
agenda
you want
for
to
today.
come
Well,
and
he's there.
discuss?
He's logged in. He's
Yeah.
logged in.
Yeah.
So why can't he answer?
Well,
my
I don't know.
questions?
If he can answer, he will answer. But if he doesn't answer, then obviously he can't get to the mic. Right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. He will answer if he
Okay.
can, and if he can't get to the mic, then he won't
Okay,
be able to get to the mic.
Well, yeah, I was looking forward to this discussion.
Well,
Never
yeah, me
mind.
too. I mean, if that's what you
Okay,
want to
perhaps,
discuss, you want to discuss the fifth postulate.
I wanted to discuss the fifth postulate. That
Wow.
was what I stated.
Nice. Well, go on then. What do you want to discuss about it?
I wanted to ask some questions about it.
Okay. Well, what questions do you want to ask about it? Like, have you not
Let me
looked
start.
into it?
It's only a couple of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess two questions. First of all, why is the postulate there at all? Why does... Sorry, let's be clear. I call it fifth postulate, as does everyone else, or the parallel postulate. You call it, in your book, which is either Playfair or Todd Hunter, it's the 12th axiom, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's the 12th axiom. Yeah,
Just so we know what we're talking about, and you call it the Triangle Axiom.
I do. Yeah, because it's got just about a triangle. Yeah.
The question is, why did Euclid include that axiom, or that postulate or axiom? Why did he include that at all?
Because it sort of shows that triangles have 180 degrees, right? Or the sum of two right angles.
So
Later
you're
to be
saying,
changed to 180.
how does it show? Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can prove that, but why did he include that? If you can.
Oh, you can prove it.
If you can prove that triangles have the sum of the angles is two right angles, why would you need postulate? That's my question.
Oh, well, it's an axiom, and axioms are self-evident truths, I would say. And
It's self-evident.
like the one before it, that two straight lines cannot enclose a space. Well, does that one need proving?
So it's self-evident. So why then, given his definitions, didn't he just prove it from the definitions?
In the
But
definitions for parallels, he added parallel straight lines as such that never meet, right? The definition for the parallel is already there. So in order for you to change a postulate into parallels and then say there are no parallels because you've taken the postulate out, did you also take out the definition?
wasn't my question. My question was why didn't he just prove the fifth postulate from the definitions?
It's a self-evident axiom, isn't it?
Well, then it can be proved, right?
It's self-evident axiom. Yeah. I mean, you could definitely show that triangles only have 180 or the sum of two right angles, right? That's definitely
You can
provable.
show that.
Yeah.
So you can show the fifth postulate from the definitions alone. Is that right?
Yeah.
You can show
The
it to be
triangle.
true. So
Yeah.
it would actually be a Sorry, let me finish. So it would actually be a proposition rather than a postulate.
Well, the Pythagoras is proposition 47, right? So it is in there of the triangle, right? Triangles always have that, but the fifth postulate, obviously the one that you call the fifth postulate, just says on which side the triangle is formed. Not everybody else, no, because nobody knows about this sort of stuff anymore. This is great.
Okay.
I'm glad you're bringing it around and bringing it back out again.
So really, you're saying nobody, even in sort of academic circles or mathematical circles, know about the fifth postulate. Is that
What
you're saying?
is that? I don't know what. Go on, say that again.
So are you saying that nobody knows? When you say
No,
nobody,
you said everybody, and I said no, not everybody, because not everybody even understands what Euclidean geometry is. Not a lot of people would understand what the fifth postulate is, and they wouldn't even know that there is loads of axioms that people have got rid of that aren't in the five that you say are the magic five.
So you're saying it's not everybody. Clearly, many people who study mathematics know about it, but those who don't.
So
don't know, correct?
how many in this arena then that we're talking to know about the fifth postulate? I mean, everybody in this room knows about the fifth postulate, right? Because we've discussed it.
I want to throw that question open. I don't know what people here know.
Everyone in this room will know about the fifth postulate. Trust us.
Okay.
But they also know that it's not five. There's many more.
More postulates.
More axioms. The postulates are just what can be done, right? In the book that I've read, there's only 3 postulates.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when you studied Euclid, which one did you use?
Well, when I studied Euclid, I used the text of Heath, which is which is now the standard text. I think Mike Jones disagreed with that. When I studied, it was split into the 6 common notions and the 5 postulates.
So did you have the 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space?
That's an interesting question. I looked, after you raised the question, I looked at the original manuscript. It's a 9th century manuscript from which pretty much all the texts are taken. This is the Greek manuscript in Greek. And actually, you're right. 2 lines cannot enclose a space is a 6th postulate, which subsequent editions omitted.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that needs proving?
No, because the received opinion, let's say the received academic opinion, is that that the 2 lines cannot enclose a space follows from it's postulate 1. No. Which is the one that says to draw a line between any 2 points?
I don't know. Let it be granted that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a postulate, isn't it?
That's a postulate.
Yeah.
Or just says to draw a line between any 2 points, and the received
A straight
opinion
line,
is that,
isn't it? that you can
Correct,
draw a
yes.
straight line in
Draw a
between.
straight line between any 2
Yeah.
points. The received opinion is that what that means is that
One line.
there can only be one line, one straight line between 2 points. Therefore, the enclosure of space postulate is unnecessary.
Why?
I'm just repeating that. I'm not necessarily agreeing with it. I'm just repeating that is what the received opinion.
Yeah. So somebody decided to take that one out.
It would have been
It's not. It's not been taken out of my book. It's still in the book that I've got, right?
As I explained a while ago when I was in here, there was the, I think it's the Heron edition of Euclid, and there was an edition earlier than that, and Heron mucked around with this, and Heiberger, I can't remember. Heiberger discovered this manuscript in the Vatican Library, and he spotted that this was different and must have been prior to the Heron manuscript edition, and for that reason he produced a new and now definitive edition, which Sir Thomas Heath used, or the editions that everyone uses in sort of universities. So that's so your edition is an older edition.
Yeah.
Than the Heiberg one.
Yeah, but more in tune with the original, right? Where it actually says about 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space.
What do you mean by the original?
It's pretty important.
What do you mean by the original? Sorry.
Well, the original.
Yeah, which edition are you referring to as the original edition? Because there are hundreds of editions.
Okay, well, do you know anything about Euclidean geometry?
A little bit.
Right. Do you know it's about the words and who wrote them? Or do you know it's about the actual geometry? What is possible and what isn't possible?
Well, the question is not just about the actual geometry. It is, what are the minimum number of assumptions? It's called reverse mathematics or reverse geometry. Given the geometry, what are the minimum number of assumptions we need for all these conclusions, these propositions to follow? So it's quite important. So the question is, do we need the enclosure axiom, the enclosure postulate, or not? Do we need it? And the received opinion is we don't need it, because postulate 1 will do the job for you. If you then ask what was the original in the original edition, we don't know, because all Euclid's, the stuff he wrote, is all lost. We don't have it anymore. We only have subsequent copies.
But we do still have geometry, right? And the basic axiomatic system.
Sorry, as I just explained, we have the geometry. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But the question is, what are the minimum assumptions we need?
I don't know. Well, what do you say are the minimum assumptions? I mean, do you say that we need to tell people that 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space? Or do you think we could just sort of not tell people that? Do you think it's like that's a don't drink bleach thing? Is that how you're getting rid of it, right? Or do you just not think we need it?
We don't need it as an assumption, because we can prove it. You can prove it from the first postulate.
Well, you can prove that 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space.
Yes, which follows from the first postulate alone.
Okay. So you're not getting rid of it because it's not effective. You're saying because you can prove it, you just don't need to say it.
Correct.
Okay. Is that why you're saying you don't need to say that triangles sum to the 180 or 2 right angles?
That's a separate one. And,
what do you mean?
But there's a similar situation.
It's not. It's an axiom that you're going to get rid of within Euclidean geometry. I'm just wondering what's the difference between the two. I mean, you're getting rid of one, or you're saying they've got rid of one because it can be proved. Now the other one that is about triangles having the sum of 2 right angles, you're going to get rid of that one because that one can be proved as well.
Well, that's the question. The
But
question which is
you can
which was
prove that a
debated.
straight line's the shortest distance between 2 points as well, couldn't you? I mean,
Say that again.
you can prove that a straight line can be drawn between 2 points, can't you?
No, you have to assume that. That's a hypothesis. It's
What
a
do you mean?
postulate.
No, you can prove it, surely. Watch this.
Well,
Here's a straight line.
If you could prove it, it wouldn't be a postulate, would it?
I haven't got a clue. That's your definition of postulates. Postulates are granted what they're going to grant you to be able to do the
we
geometry.
grant the postulates because we can't prove them from the definitions.
I wouldn't say that. I'd just say because of the way that the system is run, and at the beginning you start off in plane geometry, and therefore a line is 1D. Well, how can you replicate that? You simply can't. The postulates are just somebody, okay, let it be granted that you can actually draw a line from A to B, right? And that be a straight line, because you can't represent 1D in reality. You can't represent 2D in reality. You can't actually do it because it's conceptual. So the postulates, the way I look at it, the postulates sort of let you know what you can do in order to conceptualize the entire geometric system.
The postulates are there because they're not what are called the common notions, and I think there are 6. Are there because they're common to geometry and mathematics and other stuff, and they are self-evident. The postulates are there because they're kind of self-evident, but you can't prove them unfortunately from the definitions or the common notions. So they're postulates. That's all.
Yeah. Well,
that makes sense.
In the concepts of the way the geometry works, like you've just said there with the common notions, things which are equal to the same thing or equal to each other, right? You see the way. Well, that is if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. It's a logical system, right? So you can't get rid of that, can you? Right? They are like the governing laws of what you're going to do. That's the way I look at them. Now, in the book that I've got, that they are axioms, the same as 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space. All right angles are equal. They're just the same thing. They're an axiom.
It looks like Euclid's original manuscript, what we can reconstruct of it, separated the idea of common notions from postulates. That's all I'm saying. And look, Bev, I simply wanted to ask you why you think the postulates are, and you have explained that. There was one other question.
Why do you think they got rid of it?
Actually, there's another question. Yes, you said in one of your presentations, or one of your discussion notes.
Why do you think they got rid of it?
Yeah, hang on.
With the
logic.
made
a statement. You've just made a statement.
Yeah, but I've just answered your question that you originally came in for. Yeah. You've just asked another question, right?
I've been trying for about 2 minutes to say what I was going to say in reply to what you're saying.
Go on,
say it. Thank you. Yeah, you said once that they tried to get rid of it, and that confused me. What exactly? Who is they? Who is it? Who is it who tried to get rid of the 5th postulate?
Are you getting rid of it?
Well, you can't. You cannot. Euclidean geometry does not follow. It doesn't work without the 5th postulate.
Okay.
So no one's getting rid of it.
Okay, so it's still there, right? It doesn't ever go anywhere.
Yeah, obviously it's still there, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, look at any edition of Euclid and it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's an obvious truth. It's a self-evident truth of reality that all triangles, in reality, have 180 or the sum of 2 right angles.
Well, it's an assumption, yeah.
It's not an assumption, is it?
For Euclid, it was an assumption because he knew he couldn't prove it. There was a huge debate which went on for centuries.
What, that you
millennia,
couldn't prove
in
that
fact.
triangles have 180
They tried.
degrees?
They thought there was a question: is the fifth postulate, the triangle axiom, is it self-evident or not? A huge debate. If you look at Heath's edition of Euclid, he has pages and
And
pages of all
what
the
have
different
you done
attempts.
to look into it?
Sorry.
What have you done to look into this?
Well, I've tried to follow why people thought you could prove the fifth postulate from the other four and from the definitions and common notions. Yeah, I went through that last week actually, and it's a lot of work. And if you want to understand it, go to Heath's edition. He has pages on it.
It's just about two straight lines meeting on either side of another line. It's only
Yeah,
about
but-
3 straight lines.
Sure,
Like, it's not.
sure. The
It's
question
not
is-
difficult at all.
The question is, can you prove it from the first four postulates, or do you need it as a separate fifth
Yeah,
postulate?
we went
That was the
over
whole
that again, didn't we?
That was the whole debate.
There's
all I'm
one
saying.
position where no triangle is formed on either side, right?
Sorry, I've said what I've. Let me
So
just look at-
there's one position, isn't there, where no triangle is formed on either side of that straight line.
So are you saying you can prove the fifth postulate? And is that you're
Let's-
arguing with me, sort of saying?
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just telling you, right?
You're telling me.
And I would like a little bit of either agreement or non-agreement. When I say with the fifth postulate, as you call it, I call it the triangle axiom. It's about where a triangle will be formed on either side of a straight line. Now, there would be one position where no triangle is formed on either side. Correct?
Yeah. So you're telling me you can prove the. That's what. Exactly
I don't know.
you're
What
doing,
are
isn't
you,
it?
what are you saying? Are you agreeing with us or are you not agreeing with us? It's about two straight lines crossing one other straight line. As you know,
I'm not
you've been
sure.
over it and you've looked at it. You've just been over it, right?
Right.
So them
All
two
I'm
straight
saying,
lines,
and I'm not-
there is one
all I'm
position
saying-
where those two
What's my
lines can be
answer?
that there would be no triangle formed on either side. Would you agree?
I don't know enough. I believe. Of course, I don't. I mean, it's a very difficult question. Many people try
It's
to
not
prove
difficult,
the fifth
is it?
postulate.
Come on.
Sorry. Well, that was the whole point. People thought, yeah, this is obvious. Why does
It
Euclid
is. It's
just
dead
assume
obvious.
it?
Straight lines.
Well, they said that. Many clever people said that, but then they realized you couldn't. You
Well,
cannot
how-
prove the fifth postulate.
How can't you prove it? Give us one of the problems that they had.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get up. Right. Can I share the screen?
It's about two straight lines. I don't know whether you can or not. My lad sorted the.
Right. It says
are
I
you able
can't
to?
stream. I can't stream into this channel. I want to do a screen share.
I don't know. My lad's sorted the channel out.
There.
Have
Right,
you not got a
otherwise I will-
screenshot or something?
I suppose yeah, but it's more than that. So Heath discusses postulate 5 from page 202. There's loads and loads of it, and if you want to understand it, you need to read all this.
It's
stuff.
about two straight lines crossing an other straight line. It's very, very simple. There's not much you can't work out for yourself, surely.
Well, there is. That's the whole point.
Well, it's about
right, so-
two right angles as well.
So
So
Heath
you know
takes-
about all right angles being equal? That is one of the ones that comes before it. And straight
Heath
lines.
takes, I'm
So
trying
when
to
there's
explain this.
two right angles on both sides of that straight line, because
I'm
all
trying
of
to
the
tell
right
you-
angles are equal, right? And when you get in that position, those two straight lines have the two right angles already. So it states that no triangle will be made. Those two lines will not meet. Because if you add in the definition of two parallel straight lines lying within a plane and never touching, then how could you not come to the conclusion that no triangle is formed on either side?
Can I speak now?
Well, I don't know. Like, are you actually going to put some sort of a point across? Or are you going to try and confuse people that
No, I'm not.
the great Beddy, can't work out about three straight lines and where triangles would be formed?
All I know, right. Let me say what I was going to say. So Heath, in his book, discusses the fifth postulate, and he devotes 18 pages to this. And there are many, many other academic papers on this. It began from Euclid's time onwards. Many, many people tried to prove exactly what you are just saying you can prove, and they failed. And then independently, Bolyai and Lobachevsky, you're familiar with those two names?
How did they fail?
No, they proved, in effect, they proved that you couldn't prove the fifth postulate. You just have to assume it.
What? They proved that you couldn't prove it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what proof is about. Yeah, the question is, can you prove the fifth postulate from the other formed from the definitions and the common notions?
Can you prove that a triangle is formed on the side? Yes, because only one triangle will ever be formed on either side of that line. I mean, that's obvious.
Bev, my point is, and this is indisputable in my view, you cannot prove the fifth postulate from the other four postulates.
Of course you can.
You can prove the fifth postulate from the first four.
Of course you can. Straight lines, three of them, meeting. You've got two right angles. You've got less than a right angle and more than a right angle. And you've got all of the definitions you can go with. Of course you can prove it. It's ridiculous.
I hope this is going out on YouTube. I hope this is going out on YouTube. So you are unequivocally saying you're disagreeing with the sort of all academic opinion, which says that you cannot prove the fifth postulate from the preceding four.
I'm saying that it states on which side of that straight line the triangle will be formed.
It doesn't answer my question.
There is one place in between the two where all of the right angles are equal that no triangle will be formed. I'm struggling to know what your problem with it is.
My question is, do you agree or disagree with the received opinion, the received academic opinion, that you cannot derive the fifth postulate from the preceding four?
I've just said, I'm pretty sure that you can prove which side of the line the triangle will be formed.
And I'm not enough of an expert geometer to know any better.
Do you know anyone that is?
Not in the academic world, because they all accept the received opinion. That's the way it tends to work. Unless you're...
Well, I'm struggling to understand what your point is about this.
My point is that received opinion, the fourth time I've said it, received opinion is that the fifth postulate cannot be proved from the preceding four. Does that make sense?
Okay, so yeah, but it doesn't make sense that is all the only problem you have. And the fact that I say, yeah, of course you can. Like, I don't understand what your problem with it is exactly. Can you please state your problem with us being able to go like, yeah, definitely, a triangle will be formed on either side of that line, apart from one place where all the right angles are equal, and you would make parallel lines. As defined just a little bit earlier in the definitions.
I'm going to... I had a second question, but that's all I have to say on the first question.
Yeah, but you've not stated your problem with it, have you? What's your problem?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I believe...
So what's your problem with us thinking that we know it? What's that?
I believe you cannot prove the fifth postulate from the fourth. the preceding four. That's all. Why should that be a problem? You're saying it's a problem. Well, why is it a problem?
Okay. Well, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying, do you know the consequences of that?
Of what?
Of what the triangles having the sum of two right angles?
Well, it all follows. All the rest follows. You have the five postulates, and then the rest of Euclidean geometry perfectly follows. Yeah.
Yeah, but triangles still have the sum of two right angles.
Well, that you prove that. It's not actually Pythagoras. It's one of the early propositions. It's either late 20s or early 30s.
Yeah, so there's no way you can have a triangle with more or less than 180 degrees.
So you have to prove
two
it.
right
you
angles.
Prove it from the fifth postulate. I haven't got Euclid in front of me, but I know that's the
You
case.
said it is proved. So the entire system of Euclidean geometry is a book of proof on proof on proof.
Yeah.
All the way through. So
no, not all the way through.
Yes, all the way through. There's no failures in it anywhere.
Because as I just said, you cannot prove the fifth postulate from the preceding four, or the common notions. It cannot be proved. You have to accept it.
That's the entire thing. Let it be granted. That's all of them.
All of what?
All of the axioms. They're self-evident.
Let it be granted. Let it be granted just means let's assume that. Let's suppose that.
Yeah, that's the postulate, dude.
Do not question it if you want, because he's going to prove all the rest of the geometry from that stuff.
Everything gets proved apart from the way I look at it. Let it be granted
the fifth
that
postulate doesn't get proved. That's the whole point. The fifth postulate cannot be proved, so you just put it there as a postulate.
It's not a postulate in my book. It's an axiom. It's self-evident.
Right. Yeah. Then we come back to what. Well, that's all I have to say on this, Bev. If you want to keep on this, I really
Do you not think then it's a self-evident truth that triangle will be formed on which side of that straight line has less than two right angles? The interior angles.
You're trying to prove the postulate rather than just.
No. Look, listen, it's a self-evident truth.
Well, that's what people thought.
Yes, it is. It's definitely, that's what I definitely think. It's a self-evident truth.
I'm sure you're right. I mean, why
do you think it needs to be proved?
If you think you can prove this.
Why? No. Why do you think that needs to be proved before the proofs even start? Why do you think there is a need for you to prove something that is self-evident to many other people?
Well, I don't think it needs to be proved. It needs to be supposed. Point again is that you cannot prove it. A lot of people, centuries, millennia, thought you could prove the fifth postulate from the preceding four.
I think people have got all mixed up in there what they think it's about.
Would you not? Can I just continue to the end of my sentence? A lot of people thought it could be proved from the preceding four. And they also thought it was self-evident. They couldn't. And that was what Gauss didn't publish. He thought that. Bolyai and Lobachevsky independently showed you cannot prove the fifth postulate. You simply have to assume it.
Can I ask a question here before we move on? I think he wants to. It's getting kind of tired of going through this, but are there great minds who do believe you can prove the fifth postulate? Like you keep mentioning. Let me clarify. Sorry. You keep mentioning all the people that you think are great minds that say you can't, or there's a big discussion about it. But are there ones that say you can?
Not to my knowledge. When I say, I use the term received opinion, and that means that we're talking about academic opinion here, which is that a bit like squaring the circle, if you're familiar with that.
It means people
nobody
like
except a
Betty
crazy
don't
person.
agree that you can, so therefore,
Sorry,
yeah.
if you interrupted, what are you saying?
And saying people like you say that it's not self-evident that a triangle can be formed on which side of that straight line. You can't even say what the problem is.
They would say that, yeah. But I'm not enough of a geometer. You know, I never formally studied. I did it as part of my doctoral thesis, but
It is self-evident that one triangle will be formed on either side of the line.
Yeah, that's
and there
fine.
is
You're
one
saying
exception.
that.
There is one exception when all of the right angles are equal, which does come before it. And then you employ the definition that says that those two lines will not meet.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
That's
disagreeing with
self-evident.
received opinion, if
Well, I don't know
I'm
what
not gonna
yours.
write a paper,
What is
and why
your
should I?
perceived? Is it your perceived opinion or the perceived opinion of people that actually know about triangles and parallel lines?
I didn't say perceived opinion. I said received opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the received opinion is parallel lines and triangles, isn't it? Surely.
Whatever. That is the received opinion. I'm not enough. I'm not an academic mathematician.
You're not academic enough to even know what the problem is or even state what the problem is.
Mathematician. You need to be.
You're just trying to confuse people, Betty. You've ended up confusing yourself.
No, I'm just saying.
Straight lines. Three of them.
I genuinely. Unless it's a big deal for me, I disagree with received opinion when I can see something wrong with it, right?
Well, what do you see wrong with showing where the triangle will be formed?
All I know is that every time I've looked at the question, I find the received opinion says this, this, and this.
What is the received opinion then? What is the problem that people have with it?
Didn't I say that? Didn't I say what the received opinion was?
You just say, go on, then, that they say there's a problem with it, you can't prove it.
That's the problem. You can't. Well, it's not really a problem. Yeah,
it's not a problem because there's only three straight lines. How fucking difficult can it be?
What they say is, and this is a simple proposition, they say you cannot prove the fifth postulate from the preceding four. This is the sixth time.
But why do they say that when it's about triangles? And yes, you can definitely prove that the triangle will be formed on which side of the line. It's obviously provable.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm sure there are better people back at the other place, the blue place, who can prove this and are happy to talk to you.
No, they won't want to talk to us. Don't worry about it. But I'm glad you finally brought this up, Eddie. This is gonna change things tremendously.
What will it change?
Well, the triangles having 180 degrees or the sum of two right angles is definitely provable because it happens within the semicircle. And as you know, trigonometry is all based around that as well, and the logarithmic tables. So there are going to be a lot of people being able to study a lot of trigonometry. And you know how hot angles are at the minute. That's going to be fantastic when people start studying Euclidean geometry and the fact about right angles and how everything works like that. Oh, and planes being parallel. That's going to be fantastic. Okay, Thank you very much. The fifth postulate is our key to bringing simplicity.
You could be on something, Bev, here. I mean, you would have to go and look at Logician and Bolyai's proofs, which are different, and you would have to find out what's wrong with those proofs. So I'd suggest that's the way you need to go.
We just stick with the simple triangles, right? Three straight lines. It's really simple for us to be able to talk to people about this sort of stuff, and I'm glad you're bringing it back up for everybody.
So you're challenging one of the most difficult proofs in geometry, and you say you want to keep it simple. That's even better. If you have a really simple proof of why Bolyai and Lobachevsky are wrong,
I don't think you're bringing this up, Betty. Betty, you are bringing this up. I'm just saying, It's obviously about 3 straight lines and where a triangle
Well,
is
then,
formed
you
on
know,
either side of that straight line, Betty. It's okay if you want to interrupt. I'll give you your spot after I've finished. But it's about 3 straight lines. And they meet, and one straight line meets 2 others. And the triangle will be formed on either side of that one straight line. It's very simple. It's mathematical. It cannot be formed on both sides. That's the key to this. One triangle, either side, there's a position where all of the right angles, the 2 right angles are on the inside on both sides, because all of the right angles are equal. That proves that they're parallel. There's no triangle formed. It cannot be formed on either side because both of the sides have 180 or 2 right angles. And as we've already worked out earlier through the perpendicular, it's very simple. I mean, I'm struggling as to why you, Betty, a logician, have come around talking to just a simple group of people about simple things, about straight lines. I mean, it's good. People have left us alone for quite a while in a group of people. And you've brought this, our passion, our logic, and the geometry, and we do it in reality. You've brought it into the heart of a group of people that I don't think really want it.
Can I speak now? You've been
Off
speaking.
you go. Yeah, go on.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
let's in summary, I had the question of why the postulate is there, which you've sort of answered, and then I asked you whether you think that the 5th postulate can be proven from the preceding 4, and you've clearly said, yeah, it can be proved. 5th postulate can be proved.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, you've answered my question. I had a second question, but we're sort of running out of my time. I had the swimming pool question. Can you answer that, or shall I leave it for now?
What is that about? Horizontal being parallel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All horizontals are parallel.
All horizontal planes, correct?
Yes.
Not all horizontal lines.
Well, all horizontal lines would be lying within the horizontal plane, wouldn't they? The horizontal plane would be defined by all of the straight lines lying within that plane. So they would obviously all be horizontal, wouldn't they?
Can I cut you short? Yeah, that is what you're saying. All horizontal, and I'm saying, well, yeah, horizontal planes are parallel. So, 2 swimming pools next door to each other.
Yes. Listen, Betty.
Hang on.
All horizontal planes are parallel.
Second question. If you don't answer it, if you don't want to answer it, I'll go now.
Okay. If it's got anything to do with the fact that all horizontal planes are parallel, being any different than all horizontal, if I can answer it by saying all horizontal planes are parallel, would you be happy?
No, because I want to give you the example. In reality, the question is in reality. So my question is, it is again, 2 indoor swimming pools in neighboring properties. No one's moving about. There's no earthquakes. Everything's very, very still. So the pools are about as flat as you can get them. Are those 2, and they're at different heights. Are the surfaces of those 2 pools parallel or not? According to you. That's my question. My first part of my question.
You might be surprised, but I'll say it. All horizontal planes are parallel.
So the 2 swimming pools are horizontal planes, yes? Or the surface, the water surface of those pools.
Yes, a water level is a surface of horizontal plane reference.
So it sounds to me like you're agreeing that those two swimming pools at different heights with perfectly flat sort of water surface, those two surfaces are parallel. That seems to me to follow entirely from what you're saying. Is that right?
A water level
right?
is a
Is it
tool
right?
for establishing a horizontal plane of reference. All horizontal planes are parallel. There isn't
Yeah,
one
but
that
my
isn't,
question is,
Betty.
what follows
I'll
from
say it
that?
again.
Does it
All
follow?
horizontal planes are parallel.
Right. So
You,
does it
yeah,
then? Well,
deal with
so
it.
do you agree? Do you agree or not that the flat surfaces of those swimming pools are parallel? Yes or no? Do you agree?
How many times? It's unfucking real.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's not hearing it, is he?
I hear you, but you've not answered the swimming pool question.
All. Do you know what all means? You're a very wordy
Yeah.
person. Do you know what all means, Betty?
Totally. I just would like you to answer that question.
That
I
means
meant-
that
you can
all
see-
swimming pools, yeah, all horizontal. You,
Great.
you,
Thank
you act
Rakia.
smart, but then don't get the simple answers.
Mm.
All.
But I'm detecting a hesitance. All Bev had to say was yes, but he noticed he just
Fucking
simply repeated.
hell, Betty.
He
Come
answered your
on,
question.
man. I answered you
Yeah, you
before
did.
you even asked
Before
it.
you asked the question, he answered you. And you said, I still want to give my example. And then when he said all, you said, what about the swimming pools? Yeah, all. What
All the
hesitancy,
surfaces of swimming pools, yeah.
what
Okay, that's
hesitancy
fine.
was it, though, when he answered your question before you even asked it? Well, anyway, I'll
Here's
go
the
back on you.
hesitancy. Here's the
my next-
hesitancy. Betty, do you believe the water surface is a horizontal plane of reference?
Nothing to do with that question.
Betty,
asking
do
you.
you believe the
fucking real.
water surface is a horizontal plane of reference?
It's a horizontal plane, possibly, yeah.
Thank you. But do you believe that those horizontal planes aren't parallel?
Well, if you assume the globe hypothesis, and I'm not saying where I do or not, I'm interested in the logic. I'm interested in what follows from what.
Do that.
So why are people laughing? What's so funny?
Because
Well, why
we
would you
know,
assume-
Betty. If you assume
know?
the globe hypothesis, there is no horizontal plane.
That's correct. On
Okay.
the globe hypothesis,
So the water level that you've just said establishes a horizontal plane. You obviously know that you weren't talking about the globe hypothesis when you were talking about that.
under the
It's
under
really
the other
weird that you do
hypothesis-
that.
Well, I've no interest in. That's an empirical question, and I'm interested in your answer to an empirical question. But you've kind of answered it. Yeah, I still find
You
it
just
odd. You would
conceded.
say
You just conceded that a pool is a horizontal plane of reference. I mean,
actually it's
I
not.
appreciate the concession.
It's not.
You literally just said that.
Shh, be
You
quiet.
literally just said it. No, fuck yourself. Don't tell me to be quiet.
Speaking there, I can't.
You
Shut
just
the
told
fuck
someone
up.
to be quiet and an adult.
Unfucking real.
Yeah, let's all calm down. He's looking for an excuse to leave. Don't
Yeah.
give him one. You did say that, though, Bebby. I mean, that was your question.
Yeah, not on the globe hypothesis. I was temporarily agreeing.
Oh, I
have
got
no
you.
view. I have no view either way on which
Temporarily.
hypothesis is
Yeah.
correct.
I have no view either way anyway. I just deal with what I know in reality. That's all we ever have done, Betty.
Let's assume.
It sounds like we assume,
Let's
we
assume.
agree. Like reality is, obviously, Euclidean.
Let's assume that the surface of either swimming pool establishes a horizontal plane of reference, right? Let's assume
Just
that.
one. You only need one.
Mm-hmm.
So the swimming pool in New York now, and it's not the neighboring.
You just need
property,
one. It's a horizontal plane, correct?
It's all
one in New York.
horizontal. Yeah.
Is the
Well,
swimming pool
that's-
in New York a horizontal plane?
No,
Do we agree that one swimming
didn't let
pool
me
is a
finish.
horizontal
You didn't
plane?
let me finish.
Do we agree? Well, let's start with the premise.
Yeah, let's start with
the
an
swimming pool in
agreement.
New York, let's just agree, is the swimming pool in New York a horizontal plane of reference?
Let's assume the other hypothesis. I not the globe. Hi, Mike. You spoke. Yeah, then they are
Unfucking-real.
parallel. They have to be parallel. If
No,
you're
no.
assuming-
Is the pool in New York a horizontal plane?
Let's assume it is.
Just assume,
I
or
want to
is it?
understand. I want to
Is a swimming
understand
pool a
what follows.
horizontal plane of reference? Simple question. Before we move on to two swimming pools, let's just do one. Is a swimming pool a horizontal plane of reference?
I will grant you that. I will grant
Yes,
it.
it is. You agree that a swimming pool is a horizontal plane of reference?
I shall grant it. I don't necessarily agree. I don't
So
necessarily
do you
believe
agree
that.
or do you not agree? Just yes or no. Do you agree that a swimming pool is a horizontal plane of reference?
I do not believe that.
No, you don't believe that. So then what's the point? Why bother asking about other ones if you can't even agree that one is a horizontal plane of reference?
I want to understand what follows from Bev's initial hypothesis. That
So you're disagreeing with yourself from earlier, though, when you did say that it was a horizontal plane of reference.
No, I
You're
should
now
have said-
changing that.
I should have said I grant that. You're making this
You
sort
should
of
have
unnecessary tedious, Mike.
Well,
I
you're
grant it.
disagreeing
I
with
don't
yourself.
agree with it. I don't agree
You
with
don't
it.
agree.
I
So you
grant
don't
it.
agree that a pool is a horizontal plane of reference. All right, we're good. I'm good. I'm glad. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
So, by necessity, that means that you think... Would that be... Because I think, like, the shortest distance that we can measure would be a horizontal distance. But you would obviously have to disagree with that then now, wouldn't you?
Why? I've granted your hypothesis. So, which is to say, I will not verbally disagree with it. What goes on in my own head is my own business. What I believe is my own business.
Well, I will grant you then, as I'm talking, the both opinions, right? Okay. So if you want to play the granted game, I will grant you the fact that you don't think that it's a horizontal plane. Therefore, it must be the distance across the surface must be greater than a straight line distance. Or maybe I might be able to grant you that you perceive the straight line to be curved, but aren't really sure about it. Would that be okay? Could I grant you that we could both talk about it as though it's horizontal, whereas both of us could possibly have a different idea on what horizontal is?
No,
could I grant you a possible bendizontal, like Wally seems to be having in the chat? Like, you do know that there are people that are really confused now about this argument and why you're saying a triangle might not be formed on either side and all of that. Because, I mean, it's obviously going to confuse people, right?
I'm not confused.
I know, it doesn't sound like, but there are people that are confused. Like, Wally now thinks horizontal is the same as level, but they're both curved.
I don't think Wally... Well, shall we ask Wally? I don't think he believes that at all.
He definitely believes that. Have we got a clip? I think somebody got it earlier, didn't we?
He's on mute, so...
I'll get you the clip.
He won't come off.
He's shy. Yeah, look, see that in there. He wrote that earlier. Level equals horizontal. Unclamped equals straight. Unclamped does not equal level. Level equals curved. So he's done a equals B, B equals C, and he's ended up with level being both horizontal and curved at the same time. I mean, that's diletheism right there, isn't it? Everything's contradictory.
Can I add something here? I just got a text from one of my workers. He says let me read it. Finish scraping and watering the land. Let me explain to you what he means by that, because they use this all the time. We're leveling out dirt, and when they mean watering the land, they mean making it horizontal, leveling it. Isn't that funny? That's the term they use.
They call it
Watering.
watering, do they? Leveling it
Yeah.
off. Nice.
Yeah, that's his exact text. Finish scraping and watering the land. What else do you want me to do here? And watering means making it horizontal, making it flat. He just sent me that. Carry on.
Yeah, it's some weird times, buddy. You've brought an argument into a group of people that aren't ready for it.
Which argument are you talking
They're
about?
mentally challenged with this
Which argument are you
argument in
talking about?
particular.
Which argument?
The your cross argument, and where you've challenged the fact that horizontals aren't parallel, obviously,
Well,
because on a
horizontal
model
lines-
they can't be, can they?
Horizontal lines can easily not be. You can just, as I suggested, you just sort of get a horizontal plane, right? You put two crossing lines on them, and by definition, any two lines, straight lines on a horizontal plane, are themselves horizontal. So
Yeah,
let me
but the
finish there.
representations of the vertical planes, aren't they?
No,
Those
they're not.
crosses,
If I
yeah, they
if I
are, 'cause
draw a
if you
straight
do
line-
it-
if we construct a straight line, a horizontal plane, then that line is horizontal.
I made
Do
some
you
cards.
disagree?
My missus made some cards. You've got an XY, right? The easiest way to explain it would be on a whiteboard. Now, a whiteboard would show one of the vertical planes. So when you draw a horizontal, that would be a representation of the horizontal plane cutting through that vertical plane. And you could also draw like a vertical axis. So you could draw an x-axis and a y-axis on a whiteboard. And that would be the representation of one other vertical plane and a horizontal plane cutting through. That's where you get the representations of the lines.
Right. So
Horizontal. So I'd say,
representation.
yeah, the lines conceptually
You're saying
on a
the
horizontal
representation,
plane.
i.e., oh, for fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
Wow. I'm trying to clarify. The representation of the horizontal plane would be the two vertical planes. The lines that you would have crossing would be the two vertical planes represented on the horizontal plane as lines.
A representation of something is not the same as what it represents. I can draw on two vertical lines, crossing vertical lines on a whiteboard, right, on a vertical whiteboard.
Yeah.
So the representation, the lines you've drawn are vertical. What they are representing, what they're depicting, if you like, are two horizontal lines. Right?
No, horizontal would only be one position, wouldn't it? On that whiteboard. It would only ever be in one position. You couldn't ever draw two horizontal lines intersecting on a vertical
The lines on the
whiteboard,
vertical
could you?
plane, the lines on the vertical plane, which are pictures, are not representing vertical lines, they're representing horizontal lines. Really simple.
Well, if you were to have, I've got a whiteboard here in front of me. Right? The horizontal lines on that vertical, yeah, it's a vertical plane. Because that's what a whiteboard is, right? You put it on the wall, and then all of the lines you draw on it are on the vertical plane. But you can represent a horizontal plane as a line on that whiteboard, and none of those would ever intersect, would they?
Right. So it sounds like
They
you're
wouldn't be
disagreeing with the
horizontal.
proposition. It sounds like you're disagreeing with the proposition that there could be lines on a horizontal, be straight lines on a horizontal plane which were not themselves horizontal. I can't see any other way of understanding what you're saying.
Like, you don't know what a horizontal line is and the position that a horizontal goes in.
I would say a horizontal line. I would say, as I just said, if you have a horizontal plane, which is not a whiteboard, you'd have to put the whiteboard on the table. you have a horizontal plane, then
Yeah.
any straight line you draw on it must itself be horizontal. That I hold to be a self-evident truth.
Right, but if you look at that, what Mike's just put in there, the horizontal plane, the lines that you would represent on that horizontal plane would be representations of the vertical planes intersecting
No, other way
the
round, I
horizontal
think.
plane. Obviously, all of the straight lines on the horizontal
we're
plane.
really, I can see we're not really going to get any further, Bev. So do you mind if, and it is
What, are you conceding
pretty
there?
on. Sorry?
The all of the horizontal planes will be parallel.
I'm saying
Yep.
I've given you a lot of my time.
I know.
I must go.
I know.
So
We've wasted a lot of our time with you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you stopping by, but we've wasted too much time with you. I've got other things to do, so I appreciate it if you just leave, because I feel like you're wasting my time. Perfect.
That's terrible. If he's coming from academia saying there's a problem about 3 fucking straight lines. I'm not too sure what's going on there, you know.
If you enjoyed the content, please support On the Level and future projects. Membership subscriptions available now, or come and get involved at Next Level Discord server. Thank you.